Go.
Hi, everyone, and happy holidays. It's a kind of a wacky day here at Foodocracy. I was having some technical difficulties, so I'm on my phone, holding it by my hand. So if it's a little wobbly, forgive me. I am so lucky to have Brooke here from Bluebird Grain Farms, and we are talking today about the amazing potlatch pilaf, and we're making some holiday sides because it's the season, right? Where we all want to have our holiday sides. We don't want it to be hard because we've got all those other things to cook and presents to wrap and things to do. So Brooke has a new recipe she's just been developing. We're so excited to have it here today. I'm going to turn it over to Brooke, who's going to tell us all about her recipe.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you. You put a fire under me to get a new recipe out because I need one anyway for our newsletter this month. So that was really helpful. And potlatch pilaf is just my go-to holiday dish. And the thing that I love about our potlatch is that it's just so versatile. And it is awesome for stuffings. And I don't know about you all, but I have got lots of vegetarians coming home for the holidays. And this is a great dish today for those vegetarians in the family. And I'm going to be sharing a potlatch pilaf stuffed portobellos with goat cheese and cranberry. So this can be used as a side dish or a main dish. And you will have lots of extra filling, which is great for stuffed squash, zucchini, peppers. So it gives versatility, or you could even do little stuffed mushrooms for appetizers. So let's get started. Basically, we're going to cook the potlatch pilaf, 1 cup of potlatch pilaf to 3 cups of water. Cook it in on the stovetop for about 20 minutes. I have already pre-cooked ours, actually in a rice cooker. So I've got it already pre-cooked, ready to go. Super easy in a rice cooker. It takes about 20 minutes on the white rice setting. And I cook it and then I let it cool to blend all the ingredients. So we've got, let's go over the ingredients. We've got the cooked potlatch pilaf. I'm just going to put my screen down so you can see all of my ingredients here. We have portobello mushrooms, olive oil, and I've got olive oil and balsamic vinegar here ready to put on the portobello mushrooms. I have salt, pepper, a couple of medium shallots that I've already diced, garlic cloves that are diced. I've got fresh rosemary diced and ready to go. Fresh cranberries, just a little tiny bit of fresh cranberries. I call for about 1/8 of a cup, and just finely minced fresh cranberries. It adds just this tartness with the goat cheese. It's fabulous. So next is the goat cheese, and we've got some roasted hazelnuts here, and then fresh parsley to top with when we're finished. So let's get started on just the main recipe. The first thing that I wanted to go over to everyone is basically how to stem and get the filling out of a portobello. And this is actually took me a little bit of trial and error, because I found that when I took too much meat out of the portobello, it completely went flat. So as much as some people don't like to show their mistakes, I'm going to show you a mistake. This is what happened when I took too much meat out of the portobello. It just completely went flat. So there was nothing to stuff. So that was a really good lesson that I learned. You have to be really careful not to take too much meat out, but you have to take the stem. So I'm just going to go over that really quickly with everyone. I'm going to turn my screen down here and just show you. So basically with a portobello stem, I cut, let me make sure you can see what I'm doing here. I cut carefully around the stem, try not to go too deep. And then I just break off the stem, and we'll be chopping the stem up to put in our saute. And then I take a spoon and really carefully just scrape the gills out of the portobello. And actually, the easiest way that I find to do this without kind of ruining the integrity of the portobello, because you really want a little bowl to put your stuff in. I kind of hold it in the center and then go around and scrape the gills off. Some people might not like to cook the gills. I personally really like the flavor of the gills, so I'm going to add this to my saute. So just simple scraping and then dumping the scraped in the portobello, or dumping it in the bowl here. So you have a nice little portobello that's hollowed out with the gills removed. So after that, we are going to just quickly saute the shallots in some olive oil and get that mixed with the portobello or with the stuffing to mix and then put into the portobello to bake. So I'm just going to move you over here to my stovetop and let me get you.
This sounds delicious.
Well, it is. I mean, I eat vegetarian a lot, but I have a daughter two daughters that are vegetarian, and it's, it kind of all the meals all of a sudden become vegetarian. So this was a good exercise for me to think of something a little different for them. So I'm just going to get my saute pan heated up here. And the recipe just calls for a couple of teaspoons of olive oil. I'm just going to add that. This step takes 5 minutes. It's pretty quick, really, once you have all the ingredients prepped. So we're just going to let that olive oil heat over medium. And I'm going to add my shallots to the olive oil. And get that.
What do you cook? So does your family celebrate a Christmas Eve or a Christmas Day? What's your family do?
Yeah, so we both. We usually have Christmas Eve as a family comes over for dinner, and we usually have more of a heavy hors d'oeuvres and people coming and going for Christmas Eve. And then Christmas Day, we usually have a nice bigger dinner with friends and family.
Wow, that's great. We kind of do the opposite. We do big friends thing. Friends and family is Christmas Eve. And we have like 25 people here.
Awesome.
And it's a great time.
Yeah.
And then Christmas Day is a little more casual, just our family. And then we actually do a Boxing Day. One of our friends always hosts a Boxing Day dinner. So we get that way, and then we do a big Boxing Day dinner. So that's kind of our tradition.
What do you do for Boxing Day?
This year is I decided to do a 7 fishes for Christmas Eve, which I've never done before. I'm not Italian and I'm not Catholic, so I've never done 7 fishes. But I thought it sounded fun this year and like a challenge. So we're doing that. So I actually decided to take my pilaf and make it a side with scallops.
Oh, cool.
I read your recipe for the potluck pilaf with the shallots, and I thought, hey, little tweaking, and that's great with scallops, right?
Totally.
So I basically made it the same. It's just my herbs. I used oregano instead of a sage. So instead of savory, I went to more of a Italian. Oh, and I added two cloves of garlic in with the shallots when I cooked it. And so now it's got that nice garlicky taste. And then all I'm going to do, I sauteed some mushrooms first because I like them a little more crispy, so I didn't want to cook them in the pilaf. And then I'm just going to saute scallops and put it on top, and it's going to be part of the 7 fishes dinner.
That sounds awesome. I love that idea with scallops. I don't think I've ever paired potlatch with scallops, so great idea.
Well, there's a lot of recipes for scallops with wild rice. And so I thought, well, we're only one step away from just being wild rice. So
That's total, yeah. And it actually, this cooks quicker than wild rice. And the nice thing that I love about our potlatch is you've got that earthy flavor of wild rice, but then the sweet, nutty flavor of cracked emmer farro is just this perfect blend.
it really is. I love how nutty and delicious it is. My husband and I had some last night. We did the we did the recipe with the shallots, which was what gave me the idea. And I was originally today I was going to go the other way, and I was going to do I was going to stuff an acorn squash and put some cranberries in it. So I thought I'd go the opposite way with it, with a little more nuts and cranberry and kind of that savory aspect to it. But then I decided, well, you know what? I'm doing 7 fishes. Why not go that way and try it that way? So, I think it's going to work out great. I even roasted some fennel in the oven. I think I'm going to throw some roasted fennel in there too.
That sounds awesome. That sounds really good. So my onions are just about sauteed, everyone. I just want to show you. They're just starting to, the shallots getting a nice golden brown. So I'm going to add my garlic to this. And then add the stemmed portobellos and the gills and get that sauteing nicely. So that the thing that I recognize here with the portobellos just absorb the olive oil really quickly. So if you have to add a little bit more olive oil to keep it moist, but they also release moisture at the same time. So it's kind of a careful balance of just cooking those off so they have absorbed the flavor. Okay, and then I'm going to add my rosemary to this, and I'm also adding my my freshly chopped cranberries to this saute, just to bring out the flavor. I love the combination of shallots, portobellos, and rosemary. Yes, agreed. Oh, that is so good. And actually, I did add rosemary and to my the scallop one last night. I was thinking how good it would be stuffed in something. It's funny, you ended up making this recipe. I was kind of thinking in my head would be very good. So that's great. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna. While you're busy doing that, I am sautéing up my scallops because we're gonna save some time here. And so I've got my I roasted up my fennel in the oven. I've got that all nice and caramelized, which I love. What are you calling your dish, Lisa? What are you calling your potlatch dish? I have no idea. I might call it potluck pilaf with scallops and roasted fennel. I think that would be a nice kind of thing there, right? And I decided to saute up the vegetables separately with, of course, lots of butter because, if you get scallops, you got to have a lot of butter. Yeah. And rather than cooking them in the potlatch, because I really wanted them to retain the caramelization on the outside. I wanted to get a little bit of that nice, a little tiny crunch on the outside. And, and I know that if I cook them in the potlatch, I'm going to lose all that. So here I've kind of added all of my, I just kind of mix those around to add them up there. So I put some, I did some shiitakes because I happen to have shiitakes, but I think any mushroom would really be lovely. I think a lovely hen of the woods would be nice with this too, don't you? Yes, so that would be, and then I caramelized up some shallots on a roasting pan here in the oven at 400 for about 15 minutes. And just until they started to turn nice and brown on the outside. And now I got my scallops going here in the oven, in my pan. And the great thing about this is the pilaf can be made ahead. And so that way you can have that sitting there and just sear up your scallops, which
just takes a few minutes. So it's not
Yeah.
such a ordeal as I'm thinking about how on earth I'm going to cook 7 fishes.
Yeah.
That
That is such a good tip, and really being able to have that prepared, you could prepare it up to a day in advance, makes such a difference. And you really, all of our products you can pre-cook, which is really nice. One thing about this dish that I'm about to do is that I like to have my pilaf at room temperature. I don't want it too cold, because now that I'm just about to blend the shallots in with the with my cooked pilaf here, the warmth of the shallot saute kind of melts the goat cheese, which is kind of critical to getting all the goat cheese wrapped around the pilaf. So I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to dump this mixture, this mushroom, rosemary, shallot, cranberry mixture into my pilaf, and you can see it's steamy hot. And I'm going to blend it here with my pilaf, and you will have more stuffing than you will need for the portobellos. So I actually had delicata squash last night. So I thought it'd be great to fill my delicata with the rest of my stuffing.
Right? I think that's
so. Once this is all blended, you can feel the warmth of the get this. You can feel the warmth coming off of the saute. That's when I like to add my goat cheese to this mix. And I actually, goat cheese is really soft, so I like to crumble it up with my fingers, so it gets fully incorporated where you don't have big chunks. So I'm just gonna get that in there. Let me wipe my hands off. And then I like to reserve just a little tiny bit of goat cheese for later, because I love using it as a topping after it comes out of the oven. So we're just going to blend this goat cheese in, and then add the roasted nuts into this. And we are getting really close to filling the portobello. So thoroughly incorporate it. And you can see the creaminess here of the goat cheese is just starting to get incorporated throughout the entire dish because of the warmth. Again, critical component. And then I'm going to set that aside. And I have one step to do with my portobello before I put it in the oven at 375. Is now that my portobello is hollowed out, I have a balsamic olive oil, little salt and pepper that's whisked up, and I'm just going to brush the inside of the portobello with the olive oil and balsamic vinegar, and also the sides of the portobello, just to almost kind of like a marinade. And then I set the portobellos onto a baking sheet lined with parchment paper. Get this. And these guys are ready to stuff. And all we do is fill up the cavity of this portobello, and you kind of want to push it in a little bit. The mushroom will go flat a little bit, so you definitely want to get as much stuffing in there as you can. And I like to drizzle just a little kind of olive oil over the top for baking, just a tiny bit. And now they're ready to go in the oven. You see these beautiful
yum
portobellos.
That's amazing.
And
that looks amazing.
You can see how
yum. I'll be right over.
I love it.
Wow, I'm just about to get my little scallop top here. We've got a nice little sear. I'm going to throw those on here.
Wow. So tell me about your searing. Tell me about searing scallops.
I am sorry, it's hard to hear with the scallops going.
Tell me about how you sear your scallops. What's your
So,
process?
one of the most important things about searing scallops is to make sure they're dry. So I always, whether they're fresh and not frozen or previously frozen, you always want to lay them out on a paper towel and make sure you've patted them completely dry. Because if they're moist at all, you're not going to get a sear. You also need to start with a pan a decent amount hot and make sure you don't have too much oil in the pan. Because again, you're too much moisture, they're never going to sear. They're going to saute instead. And so, oops, and speaking of sauteing, I need to get this guy out of here or else I'm going to be burning my butter on the bottom. Starting the fire. So those are really the two big keys to searing scallops. High heat, not too much oil in the pan, just enough to coat, and making sure your scallops are nice and dry so that you get that sear on them. And then it's just really a couple of minutes per side. You just don't want to go over because you want that nice buttery inside. Nobody wants a rubbery scallop,
And are you just using butter for your fat, or is it butter and oil?
I always put a couple drops of olive oil in because it helps to keep the butter from burning. But I also, by the way, don't know if that's actually true, if that's a wives' tale, but that's the way I was taught. So that's one of those, I might have to consult Ken G. Lopez, right? And find out if that's really true, if that's just one of those kitchen myths that we all live by.
Well, I know that, anytime you have oil and any type of oil and butter, it's good for browning.
Yes, oil and butter. And then the other trick is to make sure you put a little bit of salt on there too.
Yes.
That'll help draw moisture in that. So they're lovely, and then just a little parsley, little parsley gives a little green, gives a little flavor.
That looks so delicious, Lisa. Oh my gosh. I love your idea of the shiitake, the combo of the shiitake, the pilaf, and the scallop.
The pilaf is so nutty. It's really just got a lovely nutty flavor. So like mushrooms are really natural with it, I think. Yes. And you could obviously, without the fish, if you weren't doing a 7 fishes dinner and you wanted to do a vegetarian, just do mushrooms. I think it would be fabulous with wild mushrooms and roasted fennel or roasted shallots. I think that's just fantastic. Like your roasted the shallots recipe, I think, is brilliant. It's so good, and those crispy shallots on top. It's so yummy.
Those crispy shallots they're like the star of the show when you do that.
They really are. And not easy to do, by the way. How do you get your shallots crispy without burning them?
You have to be on task. You have to definitely be watching them, and it's tricky. You can also, I know that I've popped them like in a hot oven, just right before they've fully gotten crisp, just to dry it out a little bit. So
that's a good idea. That's a good little trick. Yeah. It's definitely a trick, and making sure you have your shallots sliced evenly. So if you've got some that are a little too thin, some that are a little too thick, you're going to burn the ones that are too thin before you get the ones that are a little too thick, cooked well. So that evenness of cutting, it really comes in handy at that point too. I think a mandolin would be a good idea.
Oh, that is a good idea. So I just thought of something for all of those busy working parents. If you are planning a holiday meal, you can actually even prep these mushrooms in advance. So you could have these ready to go, get them done in the morning, do your thing, and then throw them in the oven right before you eat, because they really need to be, hot when you serve them or warm. So just a thought, because I know how many busy working people there are out there in the world.
I think that's a great idea. I love the goat cheese in it too. What a yummy. I love goat cheese.
Oh, I know. I'm a goat cheese fanatic.
And I think this pilaf is so versatile. You could also go, with like a nuttier cheese with it, like a fontina or a Gruyere kind of thing. And put that in it and stuff like a pumpkin or a squash with it.
Yes. Yep. Or that even little, really since I'm thinking about appetizers, because our 24th is usually filled with lots of really heavy apps, stuffing little mini mushrooms with this exact same, concept, and with your idea of like a deeper cheese would be really good.
That would be a really good idea.
Yeah.
I
So
love it.
I just want to show you, I have a baked portobello mushroom that I would like to show everyone. And I topped it with a little goat cheese, a little bit of the fresh cranberry and parsley. So here we have it.
Ooh, yum. That
And you
looks
can see
amazing.
how the mushroom does go a little bit flat. So don't be too alarmed when your mushroom loses its bowl-like shape. But the flavor is fabulous.
Oh, yum.
So there you have it. That's my pilaf, my stuffed mushroom recipe.
Very, very good. Thank you guys all for joining us today. And hope you all have a happy holidays, and your table is full of wonderful, bountiful, glorious dishes, and you have a wonderful time. So you guys have a great time there on your holiday feast.
Thanks, Lisa.
And,
you too.
Oh, if everybody doesn't know, so the Potluck Pilaf is in the Heirloom Bean and Grain Club.
Yes.
There it is. And I'm
There
going to
you
have it
go.
in the store. I accidentally didn't order enough because I forgot that they have 6-unit cases instead of 12.
So yeah, we need to get you
it's
some.
on its way to me, and then it's going to be in the store as soon as I get it. But right now, it is in the Heirloom Bean and Grain Club. I'm sorry, I just have to reserve all the ones I have for the Bean Grain for the club. So the club's getting them right now, and if you're in the club, I probably sent you an email saying, "Hey, you can watch this replay so that you can see it and what to do with your pilaf." If you want to join the Bean and Grain Club, this is kind of your big opportunity. We are doing a 3-month gift subscription, so it's December, January, and February, and then at the end of February, people who are in the gift subscription will get the option to be able to join. So they'll get first dibs on the club. We are going to open it in February, but it's going to be closed until February. So this is kind of your one chance to get in. So I think I've got 8 slots left. So grab them. Yeah.
That sounds wonderful, Lisa.
It's wonderful. We are so thrilled. You are joined this month in the Bean Club with a wonderful family farm here in California called Fifth Crow Farm, and they've got an incredibly rare heirloom bean, the blue Moro bean, which is a Brazilian bean. It's really delicious. That's in the club, as well as, of course, a Christmas lima, because it can't be Christmas without Christmas lima. So we've got a Christmas lima also grown by a small family farm up in Northern California. So 3 wonderful family-owned farms here in our Christmas box. It's really, really exciting. Everybody have a happy holidays, and we'll see you next year.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thank
Happy holidays,
you.
everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.